Hello and welcome to this evening episode of Your Wake Up Call. My name is Marc Caron. I'm coming to you here live from Vancouver, British Columbia at 7 o'clock in the evening here. And today I wanted to do something a little different. As I've been on now PMC Global and PSSM Spiritual Movement Global as well for a few months now, I had this idea where I wanted to create an episode that, if we're successful, what I'd love to be able to do is do it regularly. And it's really called Let's Talk. And it's really derived from an idea that I had. It came to me. It's like, I'm always talking kind of to you guys or to people or at you. And I really enjoy having real conversations with real people about real life stuff, what's going on for people. And, as a transformation agent, as a coach, as a guy who just likes to make a difference in the world, one person at a time, groups, whatever it is, I thought it would be a great opportunity to take a different approach, a different time slot. Usually we're Monday mornings at 9 a.m. here in Vancouver. And today it's Tuesday at 7 in the evening. So it's an exciting time. It's something a little different. And we've already got two people who wanted to join us and have a conversation. And we're going to find out what we would like to talk about. So first, I'd like to actually have my guests introduce themselves, tell us who you are, where you're from, and maybe a little bit about what you'd like to talk about, and we'll kind of go organically from there. Go ahead, Sonia. Or sorry, I forgot your name again. My bad. Swapna. Yes, we've met a couple of times in the past. Yes. Thanks for joining us. Where are you from?
This is Swapna Gajala from Austin, Texas, and happy to be connected with you all and Marc. So I was going through some of your messages about various things, and I had some questions regarding certain topics. Like, I know that Patriji also many times mentioned that you're perfect example for middle path follower, wherein you balance everything, and he also gave you a name called Mathya. So my question is, how do we understand the right balance between the spiritual life and personal life? Because many a times I get this question that it's not very easy to decide what is the right balance, because sometimes we tend to get carried away with our life, and at the same time we have this call inside, thinking about, like, how good am I doing in my spiritual progress. So and also I hear this aspect of free will, wherein people say that you're free to choose like what you want to do. But so is this balance common, or is this personal? It depends on the person. So that was the question I had.
Well, balance is one of those buzzwords these days, I think. And I think it's certainly relevant in life, in all aspects of your life, because, there's that saying, you may have heard of it at some point in life, where, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, or something like that. And when I look at something like that, it's how do we one second here. And so when we come down to balance, and now you're talking of personal life and spiritual life, and those are two things that I think we can certainly have balance in, because, I see it sometimes in our community. We have a lot of people who are very spiritual and very open and connected. And, there's a technical term we have in Vancouver that they call woo-woo. And, we get into the woo-woo world, and all of a sudden we live out there because it's joyful, it's blissful, it's, you're at peace inside. It's just, it's a nice, happy, kind of really a safe place to be. And then we come back down to, what people call the 3D world, or the personal world. And all of a sudden we've got all these responsibilities of work and rent and money and family and kids. And that can become difficult, right? So how do we balance living out here and, the growing pleasures of life? And one of those things for me, and I can only speak for me, is if we think about being able to master the joy and the bliss and the inner peace when we're in that spiritual place, how do we bring that to our personal life when things, work might not be going great? And today's a great example of the unemployment and the economy and everything going on. Families are having challenges, over these times. How do we take that inner peace, that joy, that bliss, that understanding, appreciation, and acceptance for all of us, for all living things, and put that into the craziness so that even when things are going crazy, we still have this grounded, peaceful center? Now, it doesn't mean we don't get mad, we don't get angry, we don't get upset. My question would be is, how long do you choose to live there? Right? And you talk about, Patricia giving me my spiritual name, Madhya, Walker of the Middle Path. When I heard that, it really resonated with me, because it's about that balance. Because when I go off and I get pissed about something or frustrated, people know it. I don't hide it. I don't suppress it. I release it. That way, for me, I always believe it's out. It's now done. Now, how long am I going to live there? Am I going to bitch and complain and get frustrated and angry and mad and sad and upset for the next 3 years about something that happened yesterday? Or am I going to do it in the moment, blow off that energy so that I can then, be more free to accept what I need to come in? And I think Eckhart Tolle described it really well in his book, A New Earth. And he talks about like two ducks in a lake, and they start fighting, and whatever it is, if it's after the girl duck or whatever it is, or even the ram sheep in the mountains that, they're always doing this because they're fighting for the lady or whatever. When that's over, when that energy shift happens and it's over, they just get on with life. They don't carry it for the next 20 years because your wife or your husband or your boss treated you poorly and broke up with you or fired you or whatever that is. Does that make any sense?
Absolutely, Mark.
Right. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So
very good example.
Yeah, and so it's that balance, because hey, you can be really successful and have a lot of great stuff happen, and then we tend to go party and celebrate. Now, if we're not in balance, we're gonna go blow all our money, we're gonna abuse our body, we're gonna do all of those things, and then we got to come back to our real world, or whatever we might want to call our reality, and it's like we got to rebuild that success again. So it's like, celebrate your successes, but don't squander them. Right? And even in those things that kind of suck or are not very good and don't make you feel good, well, acknowledge it. I always ask myself, what can I learn from this? How can I appreciate this, and then move on? Because if we're thinking about the past, we're not being present. If we're worried about the future or thinking about that too much, I think it's good to plan for the future. Then again, we're not being present. The most important thing is right here, right now, this present moment is all that really exists. And then it comes down to your second question, choice. How do we choose to be? How do we choose to feel? What do we choose to focus on?
Yeah. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah. Now, do you have any questions around that as well?
No, the example actually cleared, and also, as you said, once we find that peace and balance, and we need to apply that to all walks of life, everywhere. And I feel definitely that comes from your spiritual progress and practice. So it depends on whether you want to apply those things in other areas or other walks of the life. And that is how, you tend to carry the same energy and same positive, attitude in other walks of life too. Yeah. Thank you so much.
And it's not to say that, we have to be perfect and peaceful and joyful and blissful all the time, right? Because we're human. And if we deny that, some people say we're spiritual bypassing, or we're not being true to ourselves, and we're just kind of, almost becoming disconnected from what is. And as many people know, one of the things I'm proud of in my life is my involvement in the Tony Robbins world. He's my favorite teacher. I believe everybody needs to know what he teaches. And a big part of what he teaches, people say, well, he's a motivational speaker and he's, the success guy, teach you how to do all these things. But it's also about the mindset, because he'll say two things in his Unleash the Power Within. There's the science of success and there's the art of fulfillment. And success, now, hey, whatever, let me ask you this, Swapna, how do you know you're successful?
It depends on the goals that I set and if I achieve them.
Okay, so it's about achieving your goals that you set.
Yes, achieving the goals as well as how balanced I am. Like once I achieve them, like how contented I am is what I feel gives that sense of achievement.
Okay,
I would say
and
contentment.
great. So now, Sanveen, I'd like to bring you in and ask you, how do you know when you're successful?
If you look at material successes, I used to believe that I had some goals and some things I needed to achieve in life. And when I sort of achieved them, I thought, hey, I'm still not happy. So, what are these goals then for? What are they meant for? So, my happiness did not depend any further on these material goals. I think my journey was more important towards spirituality. For me, every day when I open my eyes and I close my eyes before nightfall, like at nighttime, I look back and see happiness, and I see that I've achieved a lot during the day. And it's not quantitative, it might be qualitative, and it might not be things that I can point on my, might just be half a thing on my finger and say, oh, I only did this much today. But the amount of satisfaction it gives me in that particular moment, that would be my success for the day. That's it. And it might even be just sitting at night for 5 minutes with my 3 children and reciting Satnam, or just saying, or just meditating for 5 minutes. That's it. That's my success of that moment.
Beautiful. And one thing I heard that both of you speak of is, Swapna, you were talking about achieving your goals, right?
Contentment. Contentment.
Yes. Yeah. And then Sanveen, you were talking about, the materialistic side. So there's two sides of success for you, right? And we can all have different rules for success. It might be how much money you want to make, how, your body weight. It could be anything about how many people you meet or how many live streams you do. And we can all have different rules for success. And if we make our success rules difficult to achieve, then we'll never feel successful, right? I'm successful every day. My feet hit the ground. I get out of bed. It's like, woo, I've got another day. I feel successful when somebody says, wow, you've really given me something to think about. I'm like, woo, all right. And Swapna, when you share some of the things you've shared with me, to me, that's success for me. I don't measure success by my bank account or the car I drive or anything of that nature. It's very different. The Western world is definitely very different than some of the other parts of the world that might be more spiritual in that sense or more fulfilled. Because when we look at the science of success, there's a formula for everything. It's like if we want to lose weight, achieve wealth, get stuff, it's not hard to do. There's recipes and formulas. We can model anybody who's done it before us and make it even easier, right? Now, fulfillment, on the other hand, is a different story. You can sit there and you can be totally successful because all of a sudden someone's making $1 million a year, doesn't feel successful. Now they're not fulfilled, yet they've got more opportunity than most people, and you can see some very, very what you and I might deem successful, and they're not happy in their life, right? So success without fulfillment is actually not success. You can't have it. So it's the art of mastering both, so that it comes back to what Swapna was asking about balance. How do we balance that, right? Make life easy. Whoever said we have to accumulate stuff? One of the problems, and this is just in my opinion and my experience in this world, we have become so consumer driven for the lowest price, which got us the cheapest quality, which is a race to the bottom of getting the most sales and making the most money. We've lost sight of our humanness, right? Our beingness. And we've become these machines, a slave in this world to fuel these big banks and do all of these things. And then people wonder, and this is what I talked about the other day when I talked about depression and mental health for the 21-day challenge, right? It's when the way that we look at things, and if we have a purpose in our life, life is very different. And most people wake up not happy about their life, miserable, not happy with their job and all those things. And then they wonder why they're depressed. Even use a different word. If you took depression out of the English language, what would that be? Maybe you would be bored, right? But that's what you might be frustrated because words are powerful as well. We talked about our language, meaning, and story all the time forms our world. So then how do we balance that out? Conscious awareness, which comes right back to Swapna, that your second point about choice, right? What about choice? Do we really have free choice? Do we really have conscious choice? Can we really be free to choose? What do you think?
I think yes, but recently I had this question, and an answer came saying that yes, you have the free will to choose how you want to live and how you want to do certain things, but be aware of the karma. So it's like somebody might choose to do great things, somebody might choose to do not so good things. So you are bound by that. So yes, you have the free will, but be aware of the karma that you are going to get with it.
Absolutely. What about you, Sanveen? Do you have something to to maybe add to that?
See, those choices that you mentioned, Swapna, you're right. But there are choices we make every single moment that may not always be related to a certain form of karma. And the first choice you ever make is to be content. And I raise my hand. There are some matters I'm not content with. That's what my question will be to Mark.
Okay.
But with most issues, I am content and happy. And that's a choice you make. First is acceptance. Second is your response to stimuli and to the external world with what is going on right now, how you choose to respond. Do you like wearing a face mask? Do you not? Do you respond heavily against wearing a face mask, or do you accept it yet do not connect with it? There are various things that you can choose to do, or disassociate yourself as well with it. If things that you don't like but have to do, you said you had no choice, and that is all fair. But then you also have to accept that because we are in this human body, this human form, we have to live out those experiences. So however, at a soul level, we did make that choice, even if we as humans we haven't made that choice. So really we have a choice. Yes, we had a choice when we were up there. And we chose to come down here and live out this experience in this three-dimensional world. So when you cannot physically feel that you're not able to make a choice because as a human, then you might have to just accept it. But do not get carried away by the emotion of it. And that's what I always practice myself to do and teach my children as well.
Beautifully said. and Sanveen, you're right on the money in terms of there's the choice of sometimes you said the have tos, and even then I think we still have a choice because we don't always have to, but it's what's the consequence. What every choice, every decision has a different consequence, a different path, a different outcome.
Correct.
And our future, our life, everything that's going to happen in front of us as we move forward, as well as everything that happened to us, from our past, is all made from a decision. Whether consciously made or unconsciously made, we've decided. You decided to turn right this time when you'd normally turn left. Right? And what happens? Sometimes you get in a car accident. Sometimes, you meet someone or something happens, or you made a choice. You can make a choice to ask someone to marry you. You can make a choice about divorce. You can make a choice about work. You can make all these choices. Yet why are you making the choice that you're making? And this for me becomes a level of consciousness that's an awareness. Like, okay, if I'm centered, we all know what a compass is. It always points true north. So if we know what our life's purpose is, and we're always making a decision based on that. So I, Marc Caron, here, feel and know the purpose of my life is to be an inspiration to others, excuse me, while living a life of growth and contribution and enjoying the process, right? And I throw that in there because I want to make sure I have fun doing whatever I'm doing. Right? And that's my purpose, is to have fun, because whoever said life's serious? I like to laugh. I like to be playful. I think laughter is one of the best medicines out there. It's a great pattern interrupt. It changes people's states. It's great endorphins. It's got all of these things going on. So when it gets down to making this choice, am I making a choice? Is that inspirational? Is that being contribution? Is that helping others? Am I having fun doing this? Right? Those are three simple guidelines for me in every decision that I make. And then we're talking about, when we get into that place of being, pissed off, angry, mad, upset, or whatever, am I choosing that? Most people would want to debate, or many people would debate that we choose our emotions. And I happen to believe we really do. We can choose our emotions just by changing the word. Instead of being angry, I could be a little disappointed. I change the word, I change the emotion, right? You can even make it fun and playful. Instead of being angry and pissed, you can be mildly peeved, or, like, have fun with it, so that you don't beat we've gotten so used to, in this Western world, beating ourselves up because we're not successful. We don't have the money. We don't have the car. We don't have all these things. And as my grandmother said, there's no pockets in a shroud. Can't take it with you. Right? So for me, it looks like, how do we make our choices based on what criteria? And so many of us, if you've heard any of my stuff in the past, it's always, everything's a pattern, everything's a pattern, everything's a pattern. And then it gets conditioned into us so that all of a sudden, we're making decisions unconsciously or subconsciously because of something that happened 10, 15, 20 years ago. So it's creating that awareness and saying, if I decide this right now, what's the outcome in a day, a week, a year, a decade, right? If I ask her to marry me and she says yes, what's that going to lead to, right? Do I really want that? Or it might be about a divorce, or I want that job, or I quit that job, I buy this car, that, like, it doesn't matter. We're always making decisions all the time. Even the decision for you ladies to join me here today, you made a decision, you made a choice, you made a conscious choice to be here. And I'm really honored and grateful that you took the time to, out of your days to join me. So thank you for that. Does that answer maybe the question about choice, Swapna?
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, I'm very happy to be here, because these are the things, all these experiences and this wisdom, words of wisdom that really help, to look at a different perspective. And Sanvin too beautifully summarized about, it's not all the time karma, and, how you look at things. So it's a good learning out here. So I'm happy to be here too. Thank you.
I love karma, especially when it's instant, right? Because then you just get it done with real quick. And I've had instant karma happen a few times in my life.
I always used to have this question. Whenever, it always, that instant karma always used to happen to me, So yeah. I'm like, why is it that, every time, consciously or unconsciously, when we make a decision, why is that immediately it hits me? And when I see some people, of course, this was before I came into this path, I used to question, it's not fair. But I realized, it's good. You're done with it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think, and this is something I kind of realized and learned in a understanding, and I could be completely wrong, but it seems to be reflective of my life. But after I read the book Autobiography of a Yogi, Paramahansa Yogananda, I was fascinated. And he talked about how, 8.5 hours of Kriya Yoga a day for 3.5 years, you'll burn off all your karma. Well, that was an aspiring thought. I don't have the discipline for that, but, we still work our practice. We still do our work. And I think what happens is, as we burn off our karma, as he would say, we're making room for, I think the more instant it becomes all the time, I would like to believe, and this is just a belief for me, that we burned off a lot of our old crap,
Huh?
right? For it to come that instant, unless it's something that's got to manifest, because maybe that's going to be a heavy one. I'm not so sure. I also like it, not that I like to laugh at others, but sometimes we have conflicts with other people and they do silly or say silly things and they get instant karma and you get to watch it. That sometimes gives me a weird kind of fun pleasure as a human being. And it's not to make light of or to make fun of, but it's like, whew, at least I got that one out of the way too, right? Oh, anyways, that's part of my human silliness anyways. So, Sanveen, what would Swapna, you're going to stay on with us for a while?
Yes.
Sure, yeah, because I'd love to have some dialogue as well. That'd be great. So, Sanveen from Calgary, fellow Canadian. Yes, great to have you here. Thanks for coming. Now, what did you specifically want to talk about?
Well, I don't think I'm here just by chance. I clicked on a link and I thought I'll hop on. Usually, when I'm looking for answers, they come from various masters at just the right time. And I think you're here for me today. So I'm really pleased. I really want, and you just touched on two keywords here. One was, what did we discuss? I forgot when I said I have a question on that, but that was the first keyword. And the second is self-discipline. So I really just want you to give me some really heavy duty tips on self-discipline when it comes to, and I know I've read it on your profile. It talks about weight loss. It talks about control on food. And I'll be honest, my journey's been quite, it's not been like crazy, but I used to eat non-vegetarian food when I was with my parents. And then after marriage, I turned to vegetarianism. At that point, I had absolutely no idea that I'd be meditating and be doing all this. It was just a journey that I just turned vegetarian due to various reasons. And I slowly, and I didn't drink alcohol ever. So those aspects were easy for me to just, even not even think about, you could say. So I don't have an addiction towards those things. But when it comes to some sweets, or it comes to chocolates, and it comes to not eating at the right time, for example, when I say right time, I don't mean, I'm not judging myself that eating at 8 p.m., but you could say 11 p.m., for example. That's for me in my mind, it's supposed to be a no. And I usually would like to finish eating by 6:30. And most days I achieve that. And I'm happy about it. And then I do some sort of intermittent fasting. And then I try to eat after, say, 15 hours. Now, most days is okay for me, except certain days of the month where I feel like I'm, squeamish, or I want to just grab just a little bite, and it kind of spoils my sense of equanimity. I don't feel happy anymore. I don't feel satisfied. I feel like I've just ruined my diet. The chocolate that I just ate might have tasted good only for that instant. And then I am all for, might be a guilt trip, maybe, maybe for a few minutes or whatever, but there is a guilt trip. And then that constant weighing scales in my, it hasn't shifted in the last 2 months, despite some efforts towards getting it on the lower side. Now, people have encouraged me saying, hey, you need to love yourself. And there's a big story about self-love here. I can read that into my childhood, something that goes back towards my childhood. But I don't see that a lot of it, people have issues from childhood, but they are still able to maintain their weight, do things, be happy, they at least eat well. And that, if I can manage, I feel like that would be, for me, the trigger towards self-love that could possibly go reverse and heal my childhood. Perhaps not the other way around. I've tried the other way around, didn't work for me.
Well, that's there's a lot there, and as simple as it is, doesn't necessarily mean that it's easy. And I can relate because I understand it's a struggle I deal with regularly. Because you know what, I love chocolate. I love those things. Yet I'm not going to beat myself up if I indulge in some. Now, if I overindulge, my body will beat me up anyways because I feel it. Too much sugar, too much anything like that. So to me, I think part of it just listening to your body. Now, the first thing you said, or one of the things you said there was about diets. You used the word diet specifically. What are the first three letters spell?
Die.
Exactly, right? Now, how many people do you know that have been on diets and then they lose a bunch of weight and then they stop their diet and they gain it back and then some?
I hear you. Most of them, and that would
Right?
include me. I've been on ketogenic diet. I've been on smoothie diet and all sorts of weird diets, and then I realized that all of this was rubbish. And then I moved to intermittent fasting. At least didn't feel like a diet as such, except certain days of the month. And then the only thing I hated was the fact that why did I feel the urge to eat after a certain time, although I did have a fulfilling meal? And then to give into that, and then I'm not seeing myself lose any weight. And I'm not saying weight as in I'm not measuring the kilos, but just generally fat. And I do obviously have this sense of comparison. Just a few years ago, I was skinnier than this, and I fit into some of these clothes that I really liked, and they've been hanging there since. It's not so much of a material thing, but the fact that I think I want to look a certain way because I don't feel good about myself like this.
So, a couple of things. From what I see here, you look great. Okay, so that's one thing.
Thank you.
You really do. Body image is such a challenge in the world today, not just in the Western world, but everywhere. We're surrounded by the media that everybody's got to look a certain way, and you get the magazines, they're airbrushed, all the celebrities and models and everybody else, they're all beautiful. And we're getting programmed in this way so that we're creating this picture in our head of what we're supposed to look like, because that's the norm. Yet if you take a look out in the world today, and we see it all the time, there's more plus size models, there's more what they would consider real women out there and things of that nature to represent what's really out there in the world and who these beautiful people are, right? So I personally believe that we have been conditioned and tricked by the media and all the populace to buy all that stuff, because here's the thing, weight loss is really simple. Right. And health, it's, I can't remember where I heard it, but at some seminar, the guy says, my book would be easy. It would be one page. It would say, eat less, exercise more, the end.
No, thanks.
I know, because that doesn't sound very exciting. Right. And food is something that we enjoy. We have it attached to so many parts of what we do. It's a social thing. Right. We break bread together. So we go for lunch, we go for dinner, we go for drinks. We're always eating because we've made it a social thing. And when that becomes part of what it is, so again, remember pain, pleasure. If anybody's watched any of my stuff in the past, we're driven to avoid pain and gain pleasure. Food gives us pleasure. Our weight, body image, everything else gives us pain. So we're stuck. So if we replace the word diet to a lifestyle, right? This is my lifestyle. My lifestyle is vegetarian and vegan. And, at some point when you start going down that road, you can eat a whole lot of food and not really gain a whole lot of weight that way, because it's live, it's not dairy. There's a whole bunch of things that can be very positive about it. But I think it's important that we have to reward ourselves, because if we start making it so that we're being rigid on this diet, I can't have this, I can't have that, we're denying ourselves, which creates this psychological game that we play, because now we can't. So I want, and all of a sudden, rejection breeds obsession, they say. So all of a sudden, the more you don't want something, right? All of a sudden, the more you want it. Try to quit something, make a decision to quit doing something. All of a sudden, you do more of it, right? Guilty. I know that feeling. I can speak from experience. And then we have to not negotiate with our mind. And we have to set up our rules, right? So what our success is, and if you want some chocolate, man, my friend David Wolf says, how often I eat chocolate? Every day. Right. But then what he's eating is he's eating raw cacao grown on his farm. And, he's eating good quality chocolate versus that candy crap that they disguise as a candy bar or anything else full of sugar and milk and chemicals and preservatives and all of that stuff. Right. So we have a comment here. I'll get to that in just a sec. But, when all that happens, we're not eating real food anymore in the supermarkets. We're eating food-like products, even things that are organic or meant healthy for you. Take a look, read the labels, and they got all sorts of crap in it. One of the things that I've learned in experience is it's like doing a good cleanse and detox, candida and everything, because candida is a yeast in your system that feeds off sugar. So refined processed carbs, sugar, all of these things just feed it. So you got these organisms inside your body that are actually starving for the sugar, and they're messing you up by your biochemistry, making you want sugar, because what you're really doing is feeding the candida, right? So when you start eating more whole natural foods, that's going to change. And what I found when I changed my eating habits is when I did that, when I started eating the things that didn't agree with me or things, I became much more aware of that. And now you talked about when to eat, intermittent fasting, not after 6:30. I could tell a Gandhi story and make you come back in 2 weeks, but I'm not going to do that. But
Please, I would love to hear a gist.
Okay, so this story was about a woman had brought her diabetic child to see Gandhi because he wouldn't stop eating sugar. And I guess back in the day, it took a long time. It was really hard for her to get him there and get this appointment so that he would speak to him and influence her son to not eat sugar. And so she got up to Gandhi and kind of told the story. And he looked at her with a kind of a blank look on her face as the story goes. And I don't even know if it's a true story, but it's a story I heard nonetheless. And he says, "Come back in 2 weeks." Well, now the mother's upset and kind of destitute. She's got to travel back to her village with her son. And 2 weeks, she's going, why? Why would he make me wait 2 weeks? Why would he do that to us? It was hard for us to get there. So 2 weeks later, she gets her audience with Gandhi again. And first thing she says, well, why did you make me come back in 2 weeks? And he said, well, I had to stop eating sugar. So he wasn't going to tell her son not to eat sugar if he was eating sugar. Right.
Yeah.
But that's why I understand, because I love my snack in the evening. But I read something in a book years ago by Wallace Wattles, and Wallace Wattles wrote The Science of Getting Rich, and I think it's called The Science of Health. And in The Science of Health, there's 2 things that stuck out to me that were super important. And one was always sleep with a window open or fresh air coming into your room. It made a lot of sense to me to get that while you're sleeping to rejuvenate, replenish, and heal and rest your body. But the other thing he said is only eat when you haven't earned hunger. Don't eat because it's breakfast time. Who says freaking breakfast time? Did you do anything? Did you just get up and now you're going to go eat bacon, eggs, hash browns, and toast and inhale a couple of thousand calories and you haven't even done anything for the day? Yes, breakfast is breaking your fast from the night before. There's days I won't eat until noon, right? Because I'm not going to eat because I think I should. I'm going to wait until I've done something and that I'm hungry, right? And then I'll choose a quality food or something that's going to be at least nutritious and delicious, right? And then it comes down to balance. What Swapna was talking about, how do we have balance? Man, if you want to have some chocolate, man, beating yourself up about not having it is going to be worse than you enjoying a nice piece of quality chocolate. And great chocolate from cacao, raw cacao, organic, is super, super good for you. The magnesium and everything else in there it's a superfood, right?
Yeah.
So it's like choose wisely and don't beat yourself up over it. If you want to indulge and have something, have it. Yeah. Now, don't eat a gallon of ice cream, right? Maybe you're just going to have a bowl. But
Yeah.
don't give me a Haagen-Dazs half liter because, I'll pretend to eat half of it. And then 2 hours later, I'm back eating the other half. Right. So I just don't buy it. So it comes down to what's the ultimate pleasure you want? What is the outcome for your health and wellness? Right. Because weight is one thing, those are all kind of part of the equation. And you can tell just by how your body feels. And if you're doing the right thing, you'll know. You'll feel it. And then don't beat yourself up over it. Say, what can I learn from this? What can I do differently next time? And the exciting part of that for me, Sanveen, is that you recognize it and you see it, because you can't change what you don't acknowledge. And this is something you acknowledge and you see this. So it's something that you'd like to, let's say, instead of change, transform for yourself.
Yeah, more like transformation. Yes, I would agree.
It's integration. It doesn't just happen every day. Sometimes it does. That heartbeat happens, and man, that's it. But
not
often
with this, no.
I know. And you're, you are like very, very many people who have challenges with the same things. And the first thing is, let's not beat ourselves up over it. Let's find a way and make it fun, make it playful. Find the good foods that you like to eat. And again, man, if you want some chocolate, I'm not going to tell you not to have chocolate. I'm going to ask you to choose good quality, clean, raw, organic, right? Super dark chocolate, things of that nature, and enjoy it. And because you'll also eat less of it.
Yeah.
One thing I want to share with you guys in terms of when it comes down to that candy food and anything that fast food, all of those stuff, these corporate kitchens, I saw the documentary, and they don't call it addictability because they can't, but they have a term in their kitchens called craveability. They put these things together in such a way with this right balance of salt, sugar, and fats that make it that you crave it. Like that McDonald's French fry. Used to love those things. Now I can't stand them. I won't ever go close to them. But they have this balance that they've made that work. Candy bars and all of that stuff. They want you to buy more stuff. They just want you to do that. And then you become addicted, and we don't cleanse and detox. Most people wash their car, their house, do all sorts of things, but they'll never clean the inside of their body. They'll never cleanse and detox from the inside out, but they'll shower every day.
Yeah.
Right? And so when you do that, generally you'll have less desire even. So.
It's funny. There were 2-3 things that you said that I wanted to laugh out loud as well, because you said the story about Gandhi. I feel like Gandhi because I'm telling my kids not to eat, but I'll go inside the pantry and grab a chocolate. And then it's probably, I do try to find good quality chocolate, although it's not, I wouldn't say it's still top end, or maybe still not raw cacao or something. But
I want to say one thing about that is, remember, marketing and manufacturers and things, and I'm not saying all of them, but a vast majority, they're tricking you. They're duping us to think it's better for us than it really is. Right? So it's always important to read the ingredients.
Sure.
Yeah, always.
And then the other thing was, you mentioned about, I don't know, I'm one person who forgets from one moment to the other, but some things really struck chord. But the thing you said about craveability, because I think that word now I'm going to write down and stick it on my fridge, because that might change my mindset. That has kind of stuck in my subconscious today, that it's making me crave it, and I don't want that. I don't want it to have that power over me. I want to be able to get up tomorrow and say, I'm not going to eat you because you have a power over me. I want to eat you if I want to eat you.
Yes, exactly. And again, that comes down to conscious choice. So Swapna, we were talking earlier about choice, right? This is that, we get into this pattern and this unconsciousness where all of a sudden we just do it. And we're maybe even aware sort of that we're doing it, but we're not taking that moment to say, no, done. We take the path of least resistance. Guilty. I'm not going to be a hypocrite and say I'm perfect by any stretch. I do that all the time. My neighbor here in my house, he's like, I'm not drinking this week. And it's a beautiful day. It's hot and sunny. It's 40 degrees on our patio. And he goes, oh, Mark, would you like a beer? I'm like, well, twist my rubber arm. right? Because it's just so damn good. And yet, now here's the thing for me, I'm making a conscious choice because I know I'm saying all of these things. I'm going to do all these. And it's like, but you know what? Damn, it's hot and I want a beer, right? So I get it. I totally understand what that's like. But at some point, it's what's the pain? What's the pleasure? What do I ultimately want, right?
Yeah, and it's not so much the fact that I see models or people in these fashion magazines, but these are real people I talk to, or even most of them are into health sciences or meditation, and they all seem to look so fit. So it kind of makes me wonder if I am not a contradiction to all of this, and I might teach something, but I'm not actually following, like something what Gandhi was doing.
Yeah.
So it kind of
Well,
makes me feel like a hypocrite when I try to teach them about something, but this is one aspect of me that I haven't mastered yet.
mm-hmm. And mastery is an ongoing thing, right? This is part of the practice. That's why they call it a practice, your meditation practice, your yoga practice, because we're just practicing. Doesn't mean we're going to become, all of a sudden we practice, we've got it mastered, and we're never doing it again. At the very least, again, Senvine, it's the fact that we have our conscious awareness that this is what we're doing. And let me ask you this. What would it take for you to right now never have this issue again? If you could end this right now, it's over, done. What would need to happen for that to be true for you?
I think it's done already. There was a reason, like I said, and something has stuck with me today that nobody's so far triggered that in me.
And if you think it's done, it's not done because you just think it's done. When you know it's done, it's done. I know it's complete.
Yeah.
It's better than, I think it's done. I think so. Maybe not, but I think it's done.
I
It's
don't
very
feel like
different than
that.
saying it's done.
I think it's done. I don't think that I'm being very assertive right now, but I feel within me that something just turned off, like some switch on me just turned off. And that happens to me on certain occasions, like once every few years, about certain topics when something really crosses the limit and something just switches off. And I know it because now I've been noticing that pattern for a while now. And that for me, and I'm going to send you a word one way or the other to let you know if it did really turn off.
Yeah, well, I'm going to do more of these. I'd love to see you come back and let and hear how that works for you. I do want to say shout out to Pari, who found me a couple of years ago. Thanks for watching and tuning in. Samar, thank you. And Samar had a couple of comments. He said, media outfits and marketing drive the humans in the direction that would make us think we are not good enough. And it's true, because when we feel that we're not good enough, we strive to be more than actually just being comfortable knowing that we are okay. Right? We are enough. No matter what, we're enough. Right here, right now, this present moment is all that matters. How do you choose to feel? How do you choose to show up? Who are you? What kind of words are you using? Are you using words of encouragement and positivity and possibility? Are we leaving people touched, moved, and inspired? Or are we negative, complaining? And it's one thing, I'm okay with people being a little negative and complaining about things they don't like, because it's telling us what they actually want. It's just how much time are you spending on that? Spend 5% of the time bitching, complaining, identify what you don't like. Spend 95% of your time making it what you want. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then Samar also says the fact that every person is beautiful, and yes, disciplined food system is part of lifestyle, because again, that language and that word. So if we say, I am living, what needs to happen for me to live a healthy, nutritious, delicious, vibrant, energetic lifestyle? It's going to have a whole different series of meanings.
Yeah.
And there's Carol, my friend from Ottawa. Hello, Carol. Thanks for joining us. But that becomes part of it. And again, it's a journey, but you make that decision and you just make a decision and say, it's done. It's done.
And
right?
I feel it's done because I was already getting to a point, but today you just tipped me over the edge, you know. So kind of, I was standing at the edge of the cliff and you just kicked me, you know, in the, the backside. I was like, you're done, Sanveen. So
And let me
I,
ask you this. So if we go to that pain pleasure principle, what will you gain when it's done? What will be the pleasure at the end of the day when it's done? And really at the end of life when it's done?
uh, I think along the line, I had lost a sense of being, like in this sense, a confidence in that sense. But tomorrow, I can, not even tomorrow, like the next moment, even now, I think that's changed in me. There's still some work required, but that suddenly feels within reach as opposed to that I can't do it at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like a sense of love already arising in me for myself. In this aspect, there are things I like about myself, and I wouldn't, it's not an ego self, but there are some part of me that I know I'm doing it right, and there's a journey and I'm along the right path. But this, I certainly, was a big cross for me. So today I feel like you've just moved me, you know, in another direction. So, you know, just doing.
You moved you, Sanveen, by being here, by answering the call to click on that link. As you said, you know, you're just called. There's no coincidence. There's a reason why you're here, and you know, this
But
could
it's
be
your,
one of
and
them.
it's your presence. So thank you, and I truly appreciate it because I know, in my heart of hearts, I know that this was such a wise thing to do, and you being here and pushing me in that direction has suddenly
And if we
turned
had
my
more
mindset.
time, I would look at the pain and say, what's it going to cost you if you don't? Right? Math.
There's nothing. I cannot even begin to say that it's going to do this to me or even that to me. I cannot even enlist those anymore because there's no excuses left any. There just aren't any.
Beautiful. We're done.
I'm so glad that I joined too. Lots of wisdom.
Lots of wisdom sharing. Yeah,
And
totally.
one thing I wanted to add is like when coming to these craving or addictions or whatever we think, what I experimented and it worked to certain extent to me is the breaking the routine. So
Mhm.
instead of trying to reduce or stop doing something suddenly that you like, because you consciously know that it's not good for you, instead if you take small breaks, like today, like this week, this Monday and Tuesday, I'm not going to do certain thing that I want to slowly reduce or avoid, and then that you're again going to get back to your craving or whatever. So those 2 days will definitely help you to separate from that thought that oh, I want to do it, I want to do it, because you're going to again get back. So that is one thing that helped me. Instead of totally trying to stop or cut down, take a break from what you're doing, and do something differently. And that really helped me. So that is one thing I wanted to add. Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks.
that's beautifully said, Swapna, because you know we when we change something, we typically have to, or we should be replacing it with something positive and better.
Yeah.
So I love what you were talking about interrupting that pattern, because remember, everything's a pattern. Our habits, our behavior, our language, our life, everything's a pattern. We have to recognize that pattern and interrupt it. And the best leaders and the best people who are able to, a lot of these sports guys, they, it's like Wayne Gretzky. The reason he was the great one, because he was anticipating where the puck was going. He wasn't going where the puck was. He had studied these guys long enough that he knew they only had a few moves and he'd do one of three things, and he could figure it out so quickly and so unconsciously, because he was a great pattern recognizer. And the best leaders, the best influencers, all of these, they recognize patterns, and they know, they know what you're going to do before you're going to do it, because they see your patterns,
Yeah.
and we're not aware of them. So when we can recognize that pattern and interrupt it and replace it with something that is more positive and better for us, it's easier to do. And it's, what do we value? Do we want to be healthy because we think it's going to be better for our relationships and our love life, and I'm going to be more attractive on, when I'm at work or on the shopping or whatever that is? Or is it because of how I'm going to feel physically and vibrantly excited? I'm going to feel better about myself and love me, right? So these are it becomes very interlayered. And it's more than just, a short conversation necessarily. However, you can make the decision right now and it's over.
That's the other keyword now, predictability. I'm going to cross that out of my dictionary now.
And and the best thing is is to know that, it's working because you have the awareness. And if you go, oh, well, that's great. Well, it's just not working. That's when you know it's working. Because if it wasn't working, you wouldn't even know it's not working for it to work or not be working. So it must be working. Now, what you do and the action you take, that might be you not working or you making the decision or what that is. And that's okay, right? Sometimes that's just okay. I had one friend who, his mother's an energy worker, and she was saying the more we deny what we want, energetically, it's even worse for us, because in our body, it's creating an energy of negativity and stress and anxiousness, because all of a sudden, I want that, but I can't, and I should. And that energetic piece is worse than just having that piece of chocolate. Have it, enjoy it, love it, right? Esther Hicks would say, whatever you believe truly in your heart, in your being, will be what's true for you. So if you believed all the crap food in the world was okay for you, and you actually really believed it, she would say that you're not going to gain weight or anything like that because you believe it. But if you're eating this stuff knowing this isn't good for me, I shouldn't be doing this, then all of a sudden, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not sure how much I buy it 100%, but I know it's true, right? To the degree that if we beat ourselves up over it and go into a negative state of anxiety, stress, and frustration and don't do it, the joy and the pleasure and the endorphins and everything that would happen of you enjoying a moderate piece of chocolate, in my opinion and experience, sure ain't going to kill you, and it's going to be a lot more enjoyable than, beating yourself up over not having it. Yeah. Now, don't eat the whole, 10 pounds of chocolate, but, or do it if that's what you want to do. Hey, decisions, destiny, future, right?
But yeah, so true. Those things are going up on my fridge today and in my room, because I feel it's not just the constant reminders. It's today that word is stuck, and I want to wake up tomorrow morning and remember them, and not just think that it was another one of those instances where I just logged on and then it didn't change me, because I feel like it did. But tomorrow, right, I want to be 100% sure that it did.
Okay, I got one word for you, so we both don't forget, because we're going to come back to it in a second, is visualization. But Carol wrote something here. She goes, I chose to fall in love with me recently. I just enjoy being with me, and I don't need to be loved by other people to be happy. Is it done? All I can say is that I feel amazing, and I don't crave others' approval and love. The love from the other is a bonus. Just an idea. And it's so true. We can't, if we put our happiness outside of ourselves on someone else, it's like, oh, I'll be happier if you love me, if you hold my hand. Oh, I've been there, done that. I remember an experience that I'll tell a story some other time, but it's true. We have to have it in here first, and then we become so much more beautiful and attractive to everybody else, right? When we actually love ourselves in that way. So back to the word visualization. One thing you can do, find a picture of yourself that you really like, that you feel you look really good in, right? Put that on your fridge too, right? So that you can see that and take you back to the time when you were feeling it, looking it, and experiencing it, and bring yourself back as a visualization, because one of the key to any manifestation is positive visualization. We have to visualize it, experience it, and emote it in our body as if it's already happened, as if it's true, right? And that will help create and the process of manifestation. If we say, oh, we want this, but in the back of our head go, no, it'll never happen, it'll never happen, you'll never freaking do it, right? So it has to be that visualization as if it is already, it's done, it's here, this is me, this is now, and that will help change. And every time you go in the fridge, you'll see that beautiful picture of yourself and go, yes. You put another picture up, find another beautiful picture of yourself that you really like, put it in your bathroom, put it at your vanity in your bedroom, right?
I can say now, you were just questioning me this a few minutes ago. Yes, I can do it. And now I say it's gone, it's done.
I know you
can you feel the difference now in the last
Yes,
20 minutes?
yes.
Yes.
I can feel the difference, and I can see the difference in your face. And this is the one thing that I want to share with anybody watching today, is if you look at Sanvi now as compared to, you can back up 15 minutes later, her smile wasn't there like it is. The glow in her eye, the excitement was not there like it is here right now.
It
And
is.
so
It is.
take that feeling and feel it, and just make a move right now, like pump your fist or do something that you can just anchor that feeling into your body. Because if you do, yes, say yes,
Yes.
right? And you keep doing this, because then that gives you what we would call a power move or an anchor, so that whenever you want to feel that way, you just go back to it. Because anytime something happens in a peak emotional state, positive or negative, and there's a negative stimulus or a physical stimulus, we'll anchor that in our body, and it could be anchored and triggered anytime. You could have, that's why sometimes, somebody looks at you the same way your mom or dad did when you were 6 years old getting in trouble, and all of a sudden it triggers you. Oh, right? Because that look at a peak emotional state got anchored in you. And your dad or mom did that to you for all your years growing up. It happened to me with a boss when I used to work, for that big furniture chain. I looked at her in a way, and I said something in a way that, my words, my face weren't congruent, and my words were fine, but my face was like, one of those, like, really, are you kidding me? And it triggered her into a episode she had with her father when she was younger. Right. So it's really about being aware of how we communicate and what these triggers are in us to bring that up. Right. So you can anchor these positive feelings and that beautiful state and that visualization, that experience. Yes. Tony, we do all sorts of crazy stuff in the Tony world, but I got a fist pump. I beat my chest. I got a thing on my ear that I use. And there's sometimes when I come in front of this camera, I'm like, what's going to be today? Even today was like, all right, well, here we go. I'll be honest with you. I didn't have a full topic prepared. We were changing the times for the show. And it was like, what are we going to do? And you know what? This has been one of my favorite shows. I've had some great guests, but to me, this is really the most exciting, because you're real people who've watched some stuff before, who are just out there, who come in, and we're having honest, real conversations that I think many people can relate to in today's world.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. Really, truly. Thank you so much, Marc.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And Swapna. I really got some really great tips from you as well.
Thank you.
And you can reach out to me.
Yes, it was wonderful.
Yeah, you can always reach out to me if you have any questions. You can follow me on Facebook, reach out, private message me. And if anybody out there watching is liking what you see here, this is going to be called Your Wake Up Call. Let's talk. I'd love to do more of them and have more people come on. Man, we can talk about all sorts of things. We can talk about what's happening in the world. We can talk. Let's have a conscious conversation that is designed to create a better everyday life for ourselves, right? And those that we touch, right? That's really what it's
beautiful.
About. Sanvi and Swapna, thank you so much for joining us today for this.
You should join my hands here. I'm holding the phone, so yes.
That's okay. Great. Well, thank you again so much. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Carol, it was great to see you and have your comments. Samara, thank you so much. And Pari, thanks for tuning in too. And if anybody has any questions, comments, and want to even sign up and register for the next Let's Talk, let's do it. Maybe we'll make this a weekly event as a sub show or something. Who knows? I really enjoyed today's conversation. So, ladies, thank you so much. Wherever you guys are watching, take care. God bless. Enjoy. And make sure you have fun. Life is too short. Enjoy it.
Thank you, Marc. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Bye.
See you next time. Bye-bye. Take care.